Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Yusuf Estes for Guidance TV, and we're here in a very special place, a place for ladies and youngsters to hear and know more about the subject of an-nisa, the women, in Islam. And we wanted to today talk about a subject about equality and know more about what Islam has to say about the rights of women. Usually when we bring up this topic, people will talk about equal rights for men and women. But when we do that, we are actually leaving out some very important, critical facts, as a matter of fact. And one of those facts is a clear point. There is a difference between men and women. Now, I realize you didn't have to take a biology course to find that out. And many people today overlook this clear fact when they begin talking, very often trying to prove a point that doesn't exist. We'll begin, though, at the very beginning of the whole thing and help all of us to better understand and have the right perception of what Islam is really about. To do that, the first and foremost thing is to know, what does the word Islam really imply? If someone were to come to us and say, why is Islam so hard on women? Why is there so much, a one-way, the my way or the highway kind of an attitude of the men in Islam, and they're so oppressive to the women? Well, if men are oppressive to women, this is against Islam. Islam does not allow oppression. But before we come to that, let's look at something even more important, the subject of what it's really all about. The word Islam is where we'll begin. Islam is an Arabic word. It's the one word throughout the Quran that is never translated. Nobody translates it. They leave it in Arabic. They might translate every other word, and whether they get close or not, it's not our point now, but the fact is, nobody attempts to translate the word Islam. They consider it to be a noun. However, it comes from a verb in the Arabic language, aslama. What is Islama? Aslama, it implies a relationship between two entities, a master and a slave, because Islam means to surrender, to submit, to obey, to be sincere, and to be in peace. And it is a choice that a person makes, a volunteer servitude, if you will. It means the person who is doing aslama chooses to do that. I want to be sincere. I want to serve. I want to obey. I want to be in peace. With who? My master. And who is the master? Almighty God. That's the understanding of Islam, to describe the relationship between the created and the creator. Islam immediately acknowledges that there is a creator of everything that exists. Only recently have scientists come up with this idea. In the last decade, as a matter of fact, the concept of ID, or intelligent design. As such, they know now that there had to be something that started everything in the beginning. They cannot go back to the blue-green algae and say, okay, this is where everything came from. Life came out of this blue-green algae. Because there are certain species that don't have any forerunner. They just appeared one day. So they said there must be a creator. And that creator in Islam is Allah. Perhaps in another religion they will say Dios. In another language, Dios, which is God, or God, which is English. But it all comes back to the one creator and sustainer of all that exists. Now that we have that, we've described two things. One, we've described the word Islam, the relationship, and we've described the fact that there is a creator, a sustainer of all that exists. Now, wouldn't it make sense that the created thing would know less than the creator? The creator may give some intelligence or knowledge to some part of what he creates, but that is created could never surpass or go above the Creator. All right? Okay. So the Creator knows what He created, and He knows what's best for what He created. This is the concept that we have in Islam. Not only the relationship between us as the created and the Creator, but also how we can interact, how we can have a connection to our Creator. And that's what we'll begin to talk about right now. In Islam, there are 5 basic pillars that all Muslims must follow. These pillars of Islam are the basis for what we do with what we believe. We believe in one God, the one and only Creator, the sustainer, the universe, everything that exists. We believe in Him. But then, after that, we have to submit to Him. And how can we do so? Well, this is where the word Islam really begins. We make a connection, or sila. Sila means connect. And the word salah comes from this word. So we establish connection, the salah. And this is imperative for every believer, every mature human being who chooses to submit to God makes this connection 5 times a day. Salawatul Khams, 5 times a day. Now, it is the same for the men as it is for the women. Just as in the beginning, we have to declare there is only one God. A man must declare it, and the woman must declare it. It's exactly the same. There's no difference. We say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. This is the first part of our shahada. A man must say this. A woman must say this to enter into Islam. Because it means that I am not going to worship anything other than God. I'm not going to submit to some false god, to some false image. I'm going to submit only to the real Creator, the real sustainer. All right? And by the way, if you found something like this in the Bible, well, you're right. It is the same religion. It's the same God. There always was only one God, and He is offered to communicate with His creation many times. But many people choose to ignore it. There's the real problem, isn't it? But let's continue. So the same for the men and for the women. Ashhadu la ilaha illallah. Then, after that, well, we know that there's Ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah. This means we're going to use Muhammad as our guide, as our example. He's going to be our link to the understanding of what to do after I enter into Islam. And He's the one who tells us about the salah. And the salah is clear. There are 5 times a day, minimum, that the doors are open for us to have this great connection. And it's the same for the man as it is for the woman. Both of us need to have shahada first, of course, make wudu, the ablution, and then adorn ourselves appropriately to cover ourselves up, facing the same direction toward the Qibla or the Kaaba. And then what? And then open our hearts and begin to pray, as we know from the example of Muhammad. But wait a minute. I said 5 times a day. How many days a week? Well, there's 7 days. Is that every day? Yes. 7 days a week? Yes. How many days a month? Well, 30 days, 29, whatever. Well, guess what? Hold on. That's only for the men. Yes, because when a woman is in her monthly cycle, she is forbidden to do the salah. She mustn't do it. Why? Well, Allah knows what He created. And He knows it's difficult for her. He knows that she's already going through some things right then. But He's going to reward her with the full credit of salah, accepted salah for every one of those 5 prayers every single day that she's on her monthly cycle. Pretty good deal. I've asked a lot of sisters, would you like to change that? Make it equal? You do what the men have to do? They go, no way. Okay. So Allah knows what He created. Let's take another example. There's something, it's called purification of wealth. Zakah. Zakah means to purify your wealth, and it's obligatory. It's not just charity. It's something even bigger. It's something you owe to give out from yourself 2.5% of the wealth you held for the period of 1 year. And you give it out freely to those who are in need. Now, who has to pay it? Well, anyone who has wealth over a certain amount, they hold it for a year, then they must pay this percentage. Now listen to this. It's exactly the same for the men as it is for the women. There's no difference. They both pay it exactly the same way. So the shahada is exactly the same. The zakah is exactly the same. But the salah is different because the women are different on this issue.